Hell yeah.
Anyways, landscape, the place where we all jump our motorcycles.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, what is software development, but actually just
Supercross.
Supercross. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not even going to try to extend that one. I think we've got 4. We're streaming to 4. One of them is me, so there's 3, and one of them is Romina, so that's 2. So that means there are 2, and one of them is Hunter.
We have an
So that
audience of
means-
1.
I was about to say, I'm about to be the 3rd or the 5th.
So
We're streaming to
So-
ourselves.
maybe this is it. Maybe we just stream to ourselves.
I'm going to read.
I just
Tweet this
retweeted
over,
it as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
I'm
see.
just going to do it.
The whole new For You algorithm is cursed. We'll have to see how it works.
Oh, you guys
the
haven't been on
algorithm's
Twitter in weeks.
Yeah.
Who- James, you said that? I mean, once you stop, it's really, you don't think about it.
Once you stop, you don't have to start again. It's actually really nice.
Careful not to replace it with like the Daily Mail or something, which is what I have done.
Oh, I've just replaced it. I've just replaced it with GitHub. That's all. Like
But more
just
productive.
GitHub issues. Yeah.
That's the vibe, yeah.
Yeah, that's my official answer for the real live stream. I'm not on Twitter anymore because I'm watching GitHub issues. But really, yeah, I just like noticed it was like I was expending a lot of time on it. I think I got like a screen time report, and I was like, wow, I could probably use like a good portion of that time back out of like every day, because it adds up.
It sure does.
Yeah. And I only used it as like a pressure release valve to like go blow off steam
Well,
and
with
tweet
these,
garbage.
the app on your phone. No apps on any phones, actually.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Except
that's
for small
also
talk.
except for small talk and the McMaster car catalog. I like to look at that.
Crucial.
I just browse. I'm like, oh, let's look at shelving today.
So what did you guys ship yesterday? That was yesterday, right? I'm losing track of time.
Yeah. Well, when was that? Yeah, it was yesterday because yes, that was yesterday. So, if you are tuning in or you're watching or whatever, and you're like, wow, this is great. What the heck is Tlon working on? So there's a couple places you can answer that question for yourself. This is GitHub. We use GitHub. GitHub is a handy tool. It's many things, but it's a handy tool to keep track of work in progress, code associated with that work in progress. It's also a great place to file an issue. So if for one reason or another you run into something in landscape or groups or talk, and you have an error message or something goes awry and you have a somewhat reproducible case, seems like it's broken, you can file an issue. We'll get to it right away.
What if I don't have a GitHub account?
If you don't have a GitHub account, then you can always email landscape-dev
Cool.
at tlon.io. And I personally will read that message. I also read every single thing. So.
On Twitter.
Yes, you can also DM on Twitter, and Eleanor will take care of it. But if you're wondering what we're working on, generally, the things that are going to be in the next release are going to be in this little pull requests tab. So this is all the work that's in progress. If you miss it and you're like, oh, I thought they were going to fix that thing. Did they fix that thing yet? We might have. So if you click the closed thing, these are all the closed pull requests. So this means that the code has gone through a review, we've tested it, we figured it's up to snuff, We're going to merge it back into the main branch for release. It's out there. So this might or might not be what you're looking for, because the latest release notes are here on the homepage of the repository. So this little 250 thing, this little release thing where it says latest. If you click that, you can see everything that's in the latest release. So when we announce to, if you're not subscribed to the Orbit Dev mailing list, go ahead. You can do that too, or you can just keep this handy and remember that this is where our release notes go. But yeah, we did a lot this past release. So 250 is trying to release weekly. That's like the new thing for this piece of software, and for this team, because we went through this giant launch. Thank you everyone for bearing with us. Pretty much did this like giant monolithic release so that we never have to do that again, and we can ship a bunch of fixes iteratively. I don't know who's watching, but do we want to do some intros? I don't know. Is that cheesy?
Yeah.
Do we do intros?
Do some intros.
All right. I'm James. I'm a product manager. If you met me in assembly, then you did. But if you didn't, then hi. I might have talked to you for the L2 rollout as well. We also have other people on the call that do actual real work. So, Hunter, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Hunter. I'm an engineering manager here at Tlon. I also work on other things like Silo and Sphinx, if you've installed those, or Port. Yeah, these guys do great work. I'll pass it to Tom.
Thanks, Hunter. Yeah, my name's Tom. I've been an engineer on this project, both front end and a little bit of hooning on the back end. And I'll also pitch my app, Huddle. Check it out. And I'll pass it to Patrick.
Hey, yeah, I'm an engineer at Tlon as well, mostly the front end, and like Tom, a little bit of Hoon these days. Yeah. I don't have an app to show, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not yet.
What about a coin?
Not yet.
No, I'm just kidding.
One coin.
Yeah.
Or what's some other scam coin? WorldCoin.
WorldCoin.
What's the Dogecoin?
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tlon's a Dogecoin company.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Ed, right?
Yeah.
Or at least you should.
Ed's a mythical being, so
Yeah.
you have to know.
Hi, everybody.
If you don't know Ed, then
I don't know how to respond to that, but I'm just doing design on landscape and a variety of other things. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Am I supposed to introduce myself?
Oh,
I don't-
you're a boss.
Just introduce everybody. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
you're a boss.
on. I actually, I don't know if you noticed, but I handled the entire migration. I actually coded everything.
Yeah.
Shout out to that
Mhm,
person who commented in UC. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just a lowly comms gal. I get these guys on a live stream every once in a while. And while I'm announcing that, we're gonna try to do this once a month. So join in.
Oh, yeah.
Eleanor's underselling herself. Yeah. Essentially, if it reads well, then Eleanor wrote it, and if it didn't, then one of us cretins wrote it. So it's actually great to have. Okay, so speaking of things that are written poorly, these are release notes. I'm going to show off what we did in this past release. Feel free to drop questions in the chat. If you're having trouble or something, we can We can always talk about it. If you have questions about things we have planned, maybe you'll watch and get excited about what we have planned. Or maybe we won't cover it and you'll ask us again and we'll tell you about it. Without any real further ado, this is landscape. We all know and love it. So the first thing that may or may not be super visible, this was a couple releases back, but we now have a mark all as read button for notifications, which is very important. And it also marks itself red when you leave it open for a couple seconds. So that actually fires, that actually works. But let's go through a few of the major fixes that we had last release. Hunter, who's on the call, underwent the Herculean effort of refactoring how we're dealing with S3 and image uploads and so forth. Here we go. Go steal my my bucket contents. But if you have a region for your S3 bucket, yeah, who cares? Whatever. I didn't break it. Hunter's laughing. Yeah, whatever. I'll just make another one after this. If you have another region for your bucket, so if you use actual brand name S3, they may make you declare a region when you interact with the API. You may put your bucket in a certain region. DigitalOcean, I think, encodes it into the endpoint. But there are a lot of other storage providers that may require you to interact with a region, particularly our West Coast friends. Therefore, we have a field for it. And Hunter's great, diligent work means that this works now. We tested it. It actually does work. Finally, thank you. With that in mind, we also have some other interesting things that we did. So Pat, who's on the call, let's drop into the Cordis chat real quick. Did you see that real quick? Those loading placeholders? So that was all Pat's work. We now have basically a loading indicator when you drop into a chat channel. So it doesn't look like you're just, entering a blizzard or something like that. Like there's some kind of, something wrong with your ship. It's just loading. So we wanted to make that nice affordance. Yeah, another annoying thing. This used to unfocus. So you would send a message and you would lose the text input in this. It's a subtle thing. It's very annoying, especially if you're a heavy user of chat. So we now refocus. We spent a lot of time on the chat input this past release. These guys are ready to, I don't know, either blow a gasket or something about the chat input, but it's good. We're working on it. The chat input now keeps your focus, so you can then send another message, like the URL to this stream. Here we go. So that's great. Also in the chat input, this little sigil, it's a little thing, but this sigil was misaligned. It was my fault. It's now aligned with the input box. We also have a bunch of really nice fixes for I'm going to mention Ed. So you can see here this little slug of text right here says whether or not you're going to mention somebody that's in the group or not, which is actually pretty nice. So I can mention Ed, he's in the group. It works. You can also mention people that aren't in the group. So if you want to I don't know, refer to another ship that and you want the nickname and everything to show up, you can basically do that. We're going to be making a lot of improvements to this. There's like a lot of nice things that we can do here, like when you first open the menu, pre-fill it with the people that are in the chat, for example, or lots of other like ranking and ordering things that we can do, which is always further improvements are coming. I should say that. We have a lot of invisible improvements to the performance of the sidebar. Tom, who's on the call, did a whole lot of work. Basically, we received a report that opening groups pegged a CPU core if you were using Brave, and it was legit. It was actually like pretty resource intensive to render this. Surprisingly resource intensive to render this list of groups with all the drop down elements and all the states and all the stuff like that. So we basically have been aggressively pursuing re-renders and things that take up a lot of processing power, basically, because JavaScript is, after all, very processor intensive. So Tom did a lot of work there. All performance work is, I think, a bit unsung in a lot of cases, because it's like, if you're doing your job right, it's invisible and it's fast and like nobody notices. But I do want to especially call it out, because there's no visual change, but it should be a little bit easier on your poor CPU. So what else do we got? Attaching an image. So if I open a thread, this is a nice one. So I'm going to attach an image to the main thread. It now no longer grabs the attachment in the thread message either. So I can send images independently of one another in the main thread and the reply thread, which is, again, thanks to Pat Hunter. These are little quality of life things that these things add up after a bit. What else did we fix? If you code fence something and then you type a sig, now no longer aggressively wants you to mention a ship. So if you're writing inline things that require a sig, then there you go, like a Hoon snippet, or you want to actually just like, you want to say something like this, that actually completed, but so that's nice. There's another couple things with this, like I think if you had an image link and text adjacent to one another, the message would just straight up wouldn't send. It does the right thing and sends now, which is great. And yeah. With the S3 fixes with the image attachments and so on, I don't know if I could show it right now, but actually, you know what? Yeah. Okay. Why not? So this is a group chat. Once upon a time, when you changed this image, it would grab the input and grab the image and attach it to the input in the chat. So now it doesn't, which is good. It does the right thing. So yeah, that's everything that's in the release. I mean, there's a bunch of other stuff too, and you can go read it. You could read the release notes and see. But that's sort of like the very big visual and like experiential changes. So we're working on making the thing a lot more stable. We're basically burning down all the issues that everybody's been reporting, trying to do things one-on-one with people if they have a special case, and yeah, So doesn't look like we have a whole ton of activity in the chat, but what's up, Brazil? I'd love to come to Brazil. All right. So I think it's probably worth it to show some of the stuff that is coming in the next release. We have a bunch of fixes. Again, you can check out the merge pull requests tab and see, what's sort of chugging along. The other nice thing that you can do, I just thought of this, on the release page itself on GitHub, there's this little link that says 65 commits to master since this release. You hit this, that is actually everything that's going into the next release. So if it makes its way to master, then it's going to happen. So this is a nice way to, I don't know, if you really want to dig into the technical details of what we're working on, this is like what's actually coming in the next tag. So for future reference. But yeah, so I think the biggest thing, the biggest improvement that we have slated here is, so we have a bit of a problem with this new message screen in Talk. So basically, in a lot of other messaging apps, when you are going to start a conversation, you don't actually think like, oh, let me go scroll through this list and pick through and find the conversation that I want to go to. You actually think of like the person first. So with that in mind, if I want to talk to, who do I want to talk to? I want to talk to that. You're on your other ship. You know what? So I can press enter now, and it navigates you to that chat. We're gonna get rid of this loading scrim and this message and all that stuff. But the idea is, you type the name, it navigates you to the chat, press enter, you're there, and it focuses you into the text box, so you're ready to go. So no more like clicking around and trying to pick through other stuff. The other nice thing is, if I want to start a DM with Ed and Hunter, that will create a new group DM. So it will also snap to group DMs that you have with those people already. So if I type, like, I know I have a chat with Hunter, Pat, and Tom in it. So if I put all three of those Pat P's in a row and hit enter, then it'll drop me into that group DM. So just it's the little things, really, and it means that whole experience is going to be a lot nicer. Really, the thing that we were trying to work around is that what was it? It was creating new group DMs for every additional new message that you created. So we're just sort of like placing some interaction guardrails around that from happening. So yeah, you can add people. Yeah, that is the portal to Urbit. It's crazy that you got a photo of it. Like you've been through it.
Yeah,
like you went back. Yeah, you went back through, and then you were like, before I go back, I'm gonna take a picture and bring it back with me. Yeah. So that's essentially like the big, like, there's a lot of other like stuff that's happening behind the scenes, a lot of like edge casey type bugs that we're fixing. Again, if you are so inclined, this is it. So there's like a lot of like oh, this link doesn't go anywhere, this references or kind of fraud. We're tuning a lot of that stuff up. So again, thank you for all your reports and reproductions and so on and so forth. So one thing I am pretty excited about, and something that I do want to show off, is we made a bunch of renovations to the landscape notifications, and these will trickle down into groups and talk in subsequent releases. But I just want to show off some like very nice, basically like enriching of notifications. So if you remember, and you haven't been to landscape in a while, this is what the notification screen essentially looks like. You know, we did a good bit of work in the groups and talk launch to renovate the notification service Hark. This handles notifications in a very general way, also very rich way. So we have architected this essentially to allow for bundling of messages. So this, like, you know, 7 more messages from one person, although it reads strangely, it is actually what it's doing. As well as showing sort of like the provenance of the notification, where it came from, so on and so forth. The problem here is that these all look the same. I don't know if you can tell, but I can't tell the difference between, you know, what's happening here. I'm being a little leaky with my DMs, but who cares? And here we are. Here's what we've done. So essentially, I'm gonna pull Ed in here to sort of talk through kind of the design reasoning for what we've done, and you know where things will go from here. So, Ed, if you want to talk about this beautiful screen.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So just to sort of summarize some of the previous issues that we had continued to observe with the prior state of notifications, was this idea that the way that they read in terms of how the layout was structured was rather zigzag. A lot of information sort of wasn't very linearly displayed. And you kind of ran into a state where you were kind of trying a little bit too long to read a notification, which you really shouldn't have to do. They should read pretty obviously. So one of the sort of major changes that we did here was just to make things sort of flow linearly, in which we sort of have the notification trigger, which is in this top case, Hunter. We show sort of the application or the software or the context from which Hunter is notifying us. So in this case, it's talk. And then we then see a breakdown of the messages, whether it's bundled or not. The idea being that in the future, we may be able to render dynamic interface here, such as inline replies, references or imagery, that sort of thing. So that's kind of a breakdown of just how the overall notification row itself has been improved. One other thing that this is also starting to incorporate is a little bit more of an intentional bucketing in terms of time for the time being. So here you see everything is in under today. You can imagine as you scroll, you'd see previous days, possible months. You know, there's like a variety of strategies we could impart here for bundling notifications. But what this is prepping us for is a world in which we can display things like digests or roll-ups at the very top of this notifications interface that can get into really interesting territory if you are someone who doesn't like to see notifications kind of hit by singular messages. So this is basically us prepping for a world where this does become to get a little bit more customizable and a little bit more interesting for people who kind of want to curate their notification streams. And I think that's it. I think that's a decent summary of sort of where this is all going and what's informed its current structure.
Great.
And I'm happy to also, just as one other 2 cents, is if anyone has any feedback about this, of course, always happy to hear more about it in Tlon Public or through our other support channels that James mentioned earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is feeling a lot better. I'm excited to get this actually like rolled out and working and stuff, because I've been experiencing this privately, and it's actually like a lot better. I can actually feel good about my notification stream now, which is a rare thing. So I also want to take the opportunity to basically do a bad rehash of our assembly demo. Hello, Cordis dudes. Let me stop presenting. I can present from my phone instead. That should work with a lot of feedback, of course. So let's share my screen here, my phone. On the side, also we've been doing a bunch of work on our good friend, Small Talk, FKA Pocket. If you signed up for the test flight, then you will get a new build here very shortly. I've been hard at work at this. So, oh wow, you see how fast that loaded? So this is all completely rewritten in Swift UI Kit. We're doing a bunch of very optimistic loading from a live Urbit. So basically, we were trying to load the entire message stream all at once as soon as you open the app. We all know, we've all used Urbit for quite some time. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of there's like a large backlog of data we need to, actually like get those relatively quickly. So especially in a mobile on the go context. So yeah, I mean, it's fast. Like I can't really say much else. The nice thing about this rewrite is that we also have little scent indicators. So if you are familiar with Signal, you've used other messaging apps, you use the red indicators, the iMessage or whatever, you're familiar with this pattern. This basically confirms that, like, yeah, you sent this message, the other person got it, so to speak. So yeah, it's great. It's nice. Autocomplete works. So I can GPT my way through personal comms. That's great. Images also work. So if I, again, want to do a bad rehash of our assembly demo, what's up, everyone? And I'm going to use it. Here we go. It sends. It works with S3. Hallelujah. We can also long press on a message. You get a little card that shows up. You hit thread, and you could drop into a thread, which is very nice. So you can get back to the thread. It shows a little one reply thing. You tap to get back into it. So threads work, which is also great. Coming up soon, notifications. We're going to fix notifications so that they work, so that when you get a notification on your iOS device, you tap the thing, you get dropped into the right conversation. We're also, what are we doing? Tap to expand an image. That's coming very shortly. There are a couple like positional bugs. As it turns out, chat logs are notoriously difficult to keep pinned in the into the same thing. Notices from threads. Yeah, we got to do we got to do that. We got to handle that case. That's coming because we do send notifications. We do pick them up from Hark. Like we have a specific like replied to notification that we can pick up and surface in a meaningful way. But yeah, we can link to the thread. That's because we know that's where that the YouTube and tweet integrations. Oh yeah. Natively, that might be an interesting bit of work. I know on the web we need to improve that because basically, I know on the web we need to run effectively a proxy server to go get the data and displayed in a sane way without fetching the actual embed, right? Because embeds are pretty fraud. So in an ideal world, we would like go get that graph data and render it nicely in Urbit like you would. But yeah, we're gonna get to richer media here pretty shortly, because I think it yeah, it's exactly right. We're gonna get to the richer media stuff here pretty shortly. Mentions, we gotta get mentions working. We gotta get reactions working, emoji reactions in the messaging app, because that'll be, you know, sent with slam effect or whatever. So yeah, we'll look at all that fairly shortly here. But I think generally speaking, it's feeling a lot better. My own private use had languished because it was slow and made my phone heat up. So now it doesn't, and DMing with people is not a ton of work. It's not like a really big chore. You also get group channels, as always. These fetch rather optimistically, a little bit slower, but you know, we're hitting a lot of ships. So if we want to hit that, we could drop into the support chat. We have some loading problems. We're working it out. This is pre-alpha. So I'm running an insider build that our iOS dev shared with me. I'm putting it through its paces. A couple people, other people at Tlon are putting it through the paces. Next week, optimistically, is the drop date for that. And yeah, it'll be good. Yeah, we gotta port GatherTown to Smalltalk, or we just gotta get the GatherTown to Urbit pipe going. Exactly. All right. Cool. So we're at 35 minutes. Do you want to talk sidebar stuff? Let's talk sidebar stuff. Let's talk about what's so we did basically what we just released. We talked about what we're going to release very shortly. Now let's talk about what's a little bit further off. So we have a professional UX designer with us who's gonna talk through the very professional UX work that he does, and sort of like building on top of the foundation that we sort of established with this first initial release. So Ed, I know you have a couple things in the works.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm unmuted. Yeah. I'm ready to share my screen if that's the most fruitful thing to do right now. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Let's see. Let me know when you can see the screen.
I believe you're up.
Cool. Welcome to my desktop, everybody. So just to sort of get into this really quickly, sidebar is one of those things that people love and hate. It's it's a list, nothing too complex. But what we've been finding in the interface is that it happens to be kind of very solid, very normcore, a very sort of default way to organize information in a relatively accessible way. And sort of due to how we make use of sidebars in our applications so far, they're really high touch. You're interacting with it all the time. It's how you navigate across DMs, groups, and a variety of other sort of just applications in this space. So since releasing, we kind of colloquially call Groups 2, which is just the Groups product. We had a couple of updates that we wanted to sort of port over ever since we had been developing Groups in its prior state before the big migration, and most of it made it to the Groups sidebar. But there are a lot of refinements, as I'm sure you, those of you who are viewing or who will be viewing this, encountered it. Where there's some things felt a little bit clunky, some things felt a little bit, not fully considered to the 100% that you would expect it to be. So after the migration, we spent a lot of time just trying to think of how to sort of fine tune this thing, make it feel a little bit more usable. And what's on my screen right now is just an example of some of the very minor refinements that we've been making to this interface. A lot of them kind of oriented around very basic, mostly just accessibility or usability of the thing, just to sort of make it very clear what this thing is doing. So here, you kind of see a blank slate prototype in Figma. What I just hovered over was what we kind of call the app menu. This is something that when hovered, you can go to landscape, just to view the list of applications again. Clicking this, ideally, you would be led into things like being able to manage the application's notifications, its appearance, security, various things related to that, and you can access help and support and submitting feedback through this as well. I'm really quickly going to take a pause because in case a bug is happening, I may have heard just a chat. Okay, cool. That's nothing. So this is the app menu. Very simple. Ideally, this is a universal affordance that we provide across Tlon applications as long as we're using the sidebar. And, there's a lot that we can do with that, and as well as making some of its functions keyboard accessible. Underneath this, we have, just the classic profile option. We have notifications. We have find apps or discover, as we'll be kind of edging into that space. The create groups option, of course, and then we have our expected structure for pinned groups and just a variety of other groups that you might have available to you. Right away, you can kind of see that there are some updates to the way that we do filtering, or sort of the labeling of every other resource that isn't pinned. In this case, what we wanted to do was sort of minify slightly the sort of sorting and filtering interface, as well as incorporate it into the section delimiters, so that you kind of have an interface that feels a little bit more cohered. And it's a little bit more clear that the filtering mechanism actually does have something to do with the way that we're handling sections here. So in this case, you have all of your groups. The idea is that you could sort them alphabetically or by recent activity. Other sorts, I can imagine, are possible in the future. Along that, as we kind of try to get this thing feeling a little bit more quick to use, kind of get back to our standard of having leap and kind of keyboard forward access be something that we sprinkle throughout the interfaces. One sort of nod to this is something that would allow you to search very long groups of lists, really as almost like a quick filter, less a true search and more of a quick filter to get what you want. I can imagine this is something that could be grown or extended in the future as well. But this is otherwise a pretty standard and very sort of straightforward sidebar. That's actually, I think, one of the sort of benefits to the overall structure is that we're trying to kind of keep the attention-grabbing elements of the sidebar as low-key or kind of restrained as possible, which is sort of hopefully a hallmark of the work we do, is to kind of respect one's attention. This is just sort of the update to this little group menu, allowing you to pin the group or invite people directly to it from the sidebar, or copy the group's link if you want to share it. Or if you're an admin, view its settings. If you're not an admin, you could potentially leave from this menu. But otherwise, this is more or less standard and not so evolved as what I'll be showing you in just a second, which is where the majority of our changes are being weighed, is sort of the group itself. So the group itself is sort of, it's a home for people, we'd like to hope. This is something that we want people to feel like it's theirs. And so we're doing quite a bit on our side in trying to kind of minify the impact to the highest degree that we can, in terms of just, again, notifications or sort of loud interfaces. And so what you see here is an approach in which we're trying to sort of consolidate a little bit of the navigational affordances here in the form of the group's menu itself. You have your back button that kind of very clearly spells out to you that, hey, this is how you go back to all groups. Clicking on this actual affordance here is the kind of the current interface that we have, which is sort of the group action menu, allowing you to invite people, copy the group link, view the group info or its members, see its notifications, and control them someday. And if you're an admin, be able to create a new channel from here, which is just a duplication of a function that we basically will be incorporating into this all channels row. For those of you who've complained about this, rightfully so, we're finally, being able to provide some more shortcuts to be able to create things like channels. This is kind of just a small example of how we're trying to make this thing feel a little bit more easy to use, quick actions for people who need them, etc. This new section, home, is for the time being going to be, for all intents and purposes, an activity feed that just renders all the sort of notification level actions or activity that's been going on inside of a group. So you can almost imagine this as being sort of a little feed of updates that are going on specifically within the group itself. As we begin to extend what we think of as being appropriate for group homes, making them nice and customizable, configurable, possibly modular. I don't want to promise too much here, but you can imagine by calling this thing a home, we kind of want to take that seriously and make sure that people can really make it feel like it's theirs. So that's going to be an exciting thing that we'll hopefully be extending in the near future. Apart from this sort of nice little cluster of navigation kind of core interfaces, the rest of this is really dedicated to just the topography of the channel layout that you as a group admin or moderator are designing for your group. So here we just have a sort of classic scroll, nothing too crazy. We have our classic channel rows with a nice sort of slightly better segmented list of actions that one could partake on a channel. But as shown in the previous sidebar, we also have, of course, some new filtering affordances that hopefully make this thing a little bit more compact and sort of legible for people, as well as channel filtering as well. Another nice to have one of these days. Apart from this, the only real new affordance that is being suggested here that we'll have to still do a little bit of sort of exploration or development around is this idea of having the sidebar itself be collapsible. You can make it small possibly, or like larger, just in case you want to see more of the names or you're working on a larger screen, a monitor, you know. There's basically a small affordance here that spans the entire top to bottom length of the sidebar, which will allow you to drag this if this were real, but this is just a prototype for the time being. So take that as it is. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to share here. There are a couple of other ideas that have yet to be really further explored, such as what a sort of compacted view of the sidebar looks like, whether or not this has any bearing with maybe showing your list of groups as well as the channels themselves in a fully compacted view for people who don't enjoy sort of tabbing sort of back and forth between the states of groups and channels, which was an intentional decision to make this thing feel a little bit quieter than a lot of other channel-based communications apps out there. So this is all interactive work that we'll be dialing in over time and making sure works as well as you would expect on mobile as well. I think that the other sort of thing to talk about here is just how this will be affecting the other applications. This is talk. I actually don't really want to kind of be too overbearing in discussing things I just covered right now. But as you can imagine, there's a lot of usability updates that we want to ship for talk as well, being such a central application to our suite, such as being able to handle things like invite, rejection, and acceptance, being able to better render things like channels, channel names, and the respective groups, so that your sidebar is a little bit easier to skim, as well as a lot of other sort of nice to have sort of quality of life updates. And then the last thing to cover, I think, does relate back to just this overall component as a whole, is that as we begin to take onboarding and support and help a lot more seriously, one of the interfaces that we're hoping to get in here as like a little nice to have is a small menu that decorates the sidebar that's highly available on both mobile and desktop experiences, which ideally would be a place in which we can extend our help and support functionality, offer basic wayfinding, show you very quickly help and support, and allow you to submit feedback, which right now is currently available, but is a little bit buried within the application menus themselves. So this will hopefully make submitting feedback to us, looking for help if you need it, a lot easier to find. And I think that's it. That might have been a little bit of a speed run, but I think that covers just about everything that we're kind of currently working on right now.
Yeah, for sure. And you hit the channel manager, right?
Channel manager. Oh yeah, I can share that as well. That'd be another good thing too.
Yeah,
Here.
yeah. That's like a kind of a at least a sore spot for us because we're moving things around the groups a lot. So we've actually like been in this interface quite a bit. So we I think we have a good prescription for what to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So just while I'm here, this will require me to open up a new file, but just to sort of set the stage here, as I sort of was breezing through, we do want to sort of think about the usability of group affordances and options for admins, just being that these people are sort of the engines of making sure that a group feels nice to use. And so in addition to providing some nice to haves like adding a new channel available from the sidebar, among other things, this all channels menu actually is something that we've been thinking a lot about, in that we recognized over the last the time period since releasing this for the first time, in that our current channel management interface is kind of diffuse across 3 distinct interfaces for both members and admin. And we realized that there was a lot going on here, and there was a lot of consolidation we could stand to do, essentially. So as you'll kind of grant me a moment to open up a new file really quickly. I actually might just have to do this through Figma itself. So hi, everybody. Welcome to our Figma. It is wild. It's right here. Opening up groups. We'll get to see this channel management interface. That is really exciting. So bam, we're in Figma once again, our friend. And this is the interface in question that we're beginning to address heavily. So as I said before, all channels is getting a nice makeover. For channel admins, this place is going to get a lot more useful soon. A lot of what we're doing is basically serving to sort of reduce the amount of complexity going on and just how you sort of navigate through your group. And here, we're hoping to consolidate a lot of the previous admin actions that we kind of had diffused into 2 different interfaces before. So from here, this kind of reads out relatively legibly that I can create new channels, create new sections as you'd expect. One of these days, we'll be able to filter through channels, titles, and sections in case we have hundreds of them or dozens of them. And of course, we have our default section, which is the section that floats above these demarcations for admin arranged sections, which is a feature that we have as a part of this sort and filter mechanism. And then besides that, you have the kind of admin created sections. And then one thing that we would love to add that, we have kind of wanted for a very long time, ever since even proto groups, was this idea of actually exposing archive channels for people who don't want that clutter to sort of pile up inside of your sidebar, who want to be able to archive a channel and make sure that people can still view it for historical purposes or for delving through the archives of a group. We want to introduce the archive channel section as a formal section that people can actually navigate to, and for admins to possibly do further curating of what's available in their application, or their group, I should say. So here, as an admin, of course, you have the ability to edit individual channels for sections. You can rename or delete them right on the card itself. For people who are joined to channels, you can leave them from here, join them from here. These are all shared by both admin and members alike. And then we're also sort of thinking about just the states of these buttons and just how to kind of refine them over time, such as being able to retry inline just in case a join failed for whatever P2P reason happened. This is just kind of breezing through some of the kind of related affordances here, where, of course, regardless of where you happen to be, this is just a placeholder in the background. You should be able to create new channels if you'd like. Of course, the new channel option brings back that interface as well in the context of the channel management interface. The new section UX should be a little bit smoother. There's a lot of performance increases we can stand to make here, where making a new section, just insert one fluidly, allow you to immediately start typing, and prompting for new channel creation straight from the new section, or allowing you to drag existing channels to it directly. So that's a fun new thing. Editing is also something that hopefully can get a little bit more streamlined over the near future, where the idea is to just simply surface the channels editing interface directly in context or in situ of the channel management interface itself. So you can delete channels from here or edit their permissions or what have you, all from this interface. And then for members themselves, there's a couple of edits to make note here, where of course there probably will be no admin buttons, given members probably for the most part won't be able to edit groups in that manner. There's a couple of notifications adjacent changes here as well, where we do want to signal to people visually that, hey, there's something new here in all channels. And the idea is that this blue dot can then map to new channels that have been created, as well as much more obviously stating that the channel is new. In addition to this, sort of the implications that this redesign has on the overall settings interface, as well, is that if you're an admin and you're looking at your group settings page, the idea is that there is no more channel management tab, given that we just want to have it all be in one place. So no matter what, whether you're a member or you're an admin, all channels is the place to go. That is where you can expect to basically find all channel related editing and joining and such functions in the future. So hopefully that makes kind of the general IA of this thing less diffuse and horizontal and slightly confusing, and makes it much more obvious that all channels is the place to be. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's all I had to share for channel management and sidebar and everything.
Very exciting stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's like you know, I'm ultimately like very happy that we're in a place where we can start making these kinds of renovations like relatively easily. I think there was you know, one of the sort of like the gripes that we've had over the years was that although Groups 1 was very stable and static, it was pretty invasive to make any kind of like major UX renovation. And so our feature velocity sort of went like this and then started to dip down, and then pretty much we weren't really doing any new features. So yeah, we're at a spot now. I mean, you know, the other dudes on this team, Hunter, Pat, Tom, others have worked on the system, have worked on both apps. Like it's like actually remarkably normal to to be able to rip something out and sort of refurbish it in the way that we in the way that we're talking about doing here. So it's good. Like, and I think in general, our releases going forward are going to contain a healthy amount of fixes to things that are broken and that are happening now. There'll be some like developer quality of life things. There may be some like behind the scenes performance optimizations, but I was a designer in a previous life, and so I do believe in shipping UX fixes and UX improvements and stuff. So that's it's definitely like a priority for this team, is to like basically be improving the thing as we continue shipping. So,
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this during the flow, by the way, but as always, you know, we're very open to feedback, very open to suggestions, and just hearing what people have to say about how easy or difficult this thing is to use. And our ears are always open. We're always here to respond and hopefully make this thing better over time.
Yeah. If you missed it, because it's eventually going to change places, but because I think Ed showed some of this earlier, but let me make sure that I'm sharing the right tab. I hope that this is the right tab. It is. If you click this little thing, and there's a submit feedback button, this will drop you into a forum. We read every single thing that comes across the wire in this forum. So if you are experiencing something that's not a bug, but something you would like to be able to do, or you know, some interaction is like a little strange, you thought it was going to do this thing, that was going to do something else, it's like not technically a bug, like you didn't get an error, or if it's something that you want to be able to do or wish that you could do, drop it in this forum. There's also this check button right here. If you check this, then basically if you use your happy or email, we may get back in touch with you to talk about it more, understand what you're talking about, show you some options on mock-ups or prototypes, or get your opinion or like input on these kinds of things, because that's important to do, and I think very integral to you know, making software better, and and serving serving the community. So yeah, so slam that feedback and support button. We'll get it. I get an email for every single one that comes across. So it's actually it's good. There's a lot of humorous humorous stuff that comes across the wire. Yeah, you want to link to the forum? Let me drop it in the YouTube chat. Right, that's where that goes. There you go. If you are in the landscape interface, real quick, let me share that tab again. So when you're in groups and you hover over the little clover leaf flower and hit that, there's a little submit feedback button. It's blue. We're going to make that a lot more obvious in the future. So cool. All right. We're coming up on an hour. Thanks everyone for dropping in. Thanks, Cordis. Nice to see you guys. And yeah, feedback's welcome. Check out the releases on GitHub to see what's coming up next. We're going to do these monthly, so if you want to spread it around and bring a friend next time, you can do that too. As always, we'll update the Tlon YouTube page with these after the fact, so you can watch them at your leisure. And yeah, thanks a bunch. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you all later. The rest of you guys, I guess I'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah. See y'all.
All right. Take care.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Do we actually log out here or anything else to discuss, or are we like done?
Yeah, we're really done.
Okay, cool.
Stop recording.